According to its creator, it is a multi-sensory cultural encounter in the company of strangers in the depths of the woods, like an enchanting trip into dreamland lit by lanterns and immersed in the sounds of frogs, insects and owls. Well, that's theatre maker Brett Bailey speaking about his series of intimate, unusual performances set in the wilderness titled Constellations. Constellations is something of a mystery tour, and to tell us more, we're joined on Zoom by internationally acclaimed theatre director and playwright Brett Bailey. A very good morning to you. Well, welcome to Morning Live. Give us a brief synopsis of what Constellations is about and what the inspiration behind it is.
Constellations, it arose as a response to the pandemic. There were so many artists out of work, as you know. And I live here in the Spier estate, which is just a beautiful place in the winelands. Lots of open land. We've got the Spier running through it. And on the banks of it are a lot of trees. It's very densely wooded. And I came up with this idea to create a series of sites along the fire. And at each site, there's a different performer. And very small group audience are led from site to site and they encounter different performers. They spend 20 minutes with each of them. It's in that beautiful period between dusk and darkness, and they don't know what they're going to expect. They don't know which performers they're going to encounter. So it's kind of like a mystery tour. And this year we're having, there's 9 women on the program. Mm-hmm. And so any group of spectators will arrive, they'll be given they'll be assigned a route, and they'll be led off into the forest into the night and experience some sort of magical wonder in the woods. Mm-hmm.
I want to touch on that a little bit, about why the decision to include only women in the Constellations for this season.
You know, it was. We've actually opened up a new route. There's an island between the Rivier and the Blow Clip Rivier, and I went onto this island, and it's so beautiful and so densely wooded. It reminded me of a sacred grove that I went to in Benin, which was it was the place for the priestesses of a particular cult, and it was just women there alone with their pythons sometimes, but in their power, and I felt that this place just suited women, and I thought, you know, there's women need power. We need to give them all the power in society, and to create a space for them where they can truly be there. And I think it's just a way of honoring women. Mm-hmm.
Now, you've just returned from Japan not so long ago, where you had a Japanese version of Constellations. Tell us a little bit about that, and what tweaks did you have to make to the original?
In the original, we had fires. You know, there was a fire at every site, so people gathered around the fire. And in Japan, because we were working high in the mountains and we were in a very densely wooded area, it was impossible to get firefighting equipment up there. So we just lit it with paraffin lanterns. And we're doing the same this year, actually. We decided not to use fires because, again, we're on an island and we can't get a fire truck onto the island. So we're using like 12 paraffin lanterns per fireplace, and paraffin lanterns all along the route. In Japan, I got to work with extraordinary Japanese artists. You know, Japanese artists have such a refined way of doing things. It's the ancient forms of dance and movement, like buto, extraordinary musical instruments. So they weren't really tweaks, but it was just a way of orientating the work towards the context.
Mm-hmm. What was the response from the Japanese audience?
Beautiful. You know, it's again, you're going into extraordinary environments at night. You don't know what you're going to encounter. You have these snatches of exquisite performance. You're surrounded by the forest at night, as you mentioned, the insects, the frogs. It was drizzling gently then. It was just really, really magical.
One thing that you do say, though, that, you know, spectators will return to the city, you know, bathed in the power of nature with vivid images imprinted on their minds. I mean, what do you mean by this?
Well, you know, it's like a dream. When you go, sometimes you have a powerful dream and you encounter somebody and you have some interaction with them, and you go through a door and then you're in another place. And sometimes when you wake up in the morning, those memories, those images stay with you, and you try and work out what they're all about. I mean, here you're having 4 very different encounters. They're not really linked together. They're very powerful and they're very brief. And so for me, it's the intention is to leave you with something, with an imprint on your minds, that you go and you try to think, well, what was that all about? Is there a connection between these what these women were presenting, singing, talking about, performing, dancing. So there's something kind of haunting about that.
Is there like a particular theme, you know, that runs across, and why is that worth exploring? And I imagine that's, you know, difficult to pin down to a particular theme, but is there something that runs across that highlights a particular issue?
No, there's not about issues here. It's about you know, I've invited these 9 women. I've taken them one by one into the woods. That sounds kind of scary, and shown them the location and said, you know, here you've got a river running past you. You can work in the river. You can work in the tree. You can create change this environment to position the audience here or here or here. What do you want to do? What you have the opportunity to work in your power alone at night in nature. What do you want to do? And that's really what women have responded to. I feel that to give that freedom to people, we're not working with commercial imperatives. No, we've only got a total of 80 spectators per night, and we're only running for 6 nights. So, you know, I'm really giving them the opportunity to do exactly what they want to do, which they might not be able to do in a theatre where they're looking at trying to sell 400 seats.
Mm-hmm. And I believe that, you know, each artist and writer, musician or performance artist hosts an exchange, you know, an experience. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm not really understanding the question.
For each artist that you've decided to rope in, they have an experience, or, you know, for the audience. Tell us a little bit about that. And was that intentional on your side?
Well, I mean, the whole thing is an experience, you know. So yeah, I don't know if I can tell you anything about that. I don't think it is an experience, and each one is creating their own experience. That's what it is. Yeah.
All right. Give us details about Spier and how long you're running for.
We're running for 3 weekends, from the 4th of November until the 19th of November. You can book your tickets at Web Tickets. When you arrive, you get a glass of wine. We're starting quite early. We start at 6:30, so those people that are coming through from Cape Town have to be aware of the traffic coming from along the N2. And you're advised to wear walking shoes because you take a 20-minute walk into the bush. And yeah, I think just come prepared for something extraordinary and to have a beautiful experience.
All right, Brett Bailey, thank you so much for talking to us. Theatre maker speaking to us about his series of intimate, unusual performances set in the wilderness titled Constellations. It's taking place at Spier from the 4th to the 19th of November.